Hi everyone, it's Sophia, and I'm debating Cooper on Protocol 1. So, my position is that the US federal government should not consent to be bound by or implement Protocol 1 of the Geneva Convention. First, I would like to start off with the non-links and point out that it wouldn't be an effective or significant humanitarian initiative currently to implement Protocol 1. In terms of colonization, the US is not pursuing any area to colonize currently, and probably will not, since that was a part of history. And what happened in the past can't be changed even with the implementation of Protocol 1 now. Also, implementing Protocol 1 would be a big deal because there are 102 articles, and implementing 102 articles into a bureaucratic system would be extremely time-consuming and costly. Another non-link that I would like to point out is that international relations would not necessarily be improved among the US and other countries that have signed Protocol 1, simply because in the past 66 years there have not been voiced complaints about the US not having signed it, so it's not necessarily predictable that there will be in the future. In other terms of international relations, war is essentially war, and there is no 100% guarantee that the people and the places protected by Protocol 1, so civilians and majority of medical areas and sanctuaries, to be 100% protected during a time of war, because there is a huge chance of getting caught in the crossfire as war happens in cities and places where people have lived and might still currently be living. And without knowledge of where medical stuff is being stored, then there's no guarantee of not directing an attack towards that specific area. So basically, that is the nature of war. There are no guarantees. Now I'd like to state my advantages, my disadvantages. So there are obvious reasons, well, not obvious, but there are reasons why the US initially didn't sign Protocol 1, and one of them is outlined by Theodore Marin in the American Journal of International Law that was published in 1994. In volume 88, he explains that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict was one of the major fears of the US at the time. So, the US feared that Protocol 1 would allow the Palestinian Liberation Organization to legitimize their claims on territory that the Western world was protecting for the Israeli people and government. Now, that kind of remains the reason today, but has changed over time. There is a calmer political climate between Israel and Palestine, and that's due to the Oslo Accords that were held in 1993. The U.S. State Department website and the historian section has a very comprehensive history of how the Oslo Accords were the negotiations between Israel and Palestine following a very bloody conflict, bloody intense conflict, but that led to the recognition, the U.S. recognition of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and that allowed for the organization to voice the Palestinian people. So that basically brought the current more stable and calmer political climate than before. However, implementing Protocol 1 now would reopen those conflicts that were happening in the past, since the fear remains of the Palestinian Liberation Organization having claims on legitimacy over land and not just the people. So implementing that would open that conflict once again and destroy all the efforts that have happened since 1993. So my second disadvantage is that implementing protocol now would actually make fighting the current global crisis, the current global terrorist crisis, even more difficult. As we know, we're facing an international conflict of ISIS, and Andrew Tilgen of Military Times wrote of the new strategy the Pentagon has to defeat ISIS, pointing out the key issues that Middle Eastern leaders are already limiting the number of soldiers the U.S. is allowed to have on ground in Syria and Iraq. And also, analysts are saying that more firepower is necessary. However, that's not the case. And finally, he explains how old school warfare was basically not viable in modern times because the ISIS is using such new tactics. Examples of these two new tactics are, first of all, explained by senior researcher Graciela Singer at the Pontifical Catholic University of Argentina. She outlines that ISIS got its grounds with money by taking historical monuments and museums hostage and selling them on the market, and also selling gold. Another way that ISIS is a completely new thing we're attacking is that the recruiting is happening on U.S. grounds, written by Jamie Yuccas on CNBC, where he outlined how certain people were asked to join by ISIS and how certain people did and the legal consequences of that. So essentially, Protocol 1 is of the past, and so is old warfare, and this is today. So new taxes need to happen today, and Protocol 1 is not one of them. Thank you.